Okay.
Shooter, are you ready? Stand by.
What up, YouTube? Gunner South here with a tabletop review of the Diamondback 9FS, or Diamondback, I'm assuming, Diamondback 9mm full size. So I actually literally have had this gun in my possession for about 20 minutes now. I just picked it up used from one of the gun trader forums that I'm on. And I wanted to share with you my initial impressions. This will probably be part one of a couple parts that we do on this particular firearm. I'm not seeing a lot out there on these guns, so I thought I would give my take on this gun. I got it used for $250 plus a box of 9, so I figure that's a pretty good price. I think they're running new around $380. I've seen when they were brand new. I don't know what the current price is, but you know, for what I wanted, I needed to replace a gun, and I saw this come up, and honestly, I've honestly been wanting to try these as I thought they were interesting since they came out. The look and everything sort of appealed to me, so I'm going to give this gun a shot. I figure if I don't like it, I can get rid of it pretty quick at that price point. So, initial impressions. Alright, first off, here it is. This is the Diamondback FS9. American made, American company. There you go, make everybody happy, right? Nothing in there. First impressions, I think you're going to either love it or hate it when you first see it. I happen to really like the look, and I'll go into the details as to why I like the look a little later on. But you get a nice box, you get a lock, you get the excuse me, sorry, the documentation's up there. It's not much more than your clamshell that you would get for a Glock or whatever, but I think it's a nice touch, especially at a pistol at this particular price point. So I think that's not a bad deal that you're getting. As for the gun itself, this is what I would consider a full-size 9mm pistol, right? I believe it has a capacity of 15 rounds, so that was a failure. It has a capacity of 15 rounds, and it comes with one magazine, so that's a 15 there. It's got this nice big base plate on it, so that you're always going to be sure to slam that home. Big, nice external extractor, front cocking serrations. It takes Glock sights, it is Glock style sights. These are actually better than Glock sights. These are metal, so that at least is better than your standard Glock. It has a blade safety up here in the front. Some people complain about how sharp that is. Looks like someone might have beveled that off there or filed it or something. I'm seeing a little bit of the metal exposure. That just might be part of the natural wear on this thing. Your slide release is up here. From what I've read online, that this can stick. It can be very hard to release. I've not found that to be the case on mine. It doesn't take much more to release it than that. So at least on my particular model, that slide release is right up there, up and easy for me to get. It's right where you would find one on Glock. It's got a nice feel to it, and it's easy to use. Basically a full Picatinny rail here, which is pretty awesome. You can fit all manner of sights and flashlights, what have you. Can just go right on there. Let's see, it comes with 3-dot sights. And a loaded or striker indicator, I guess that would be the best way to put it. So I'll give you a quick, just 180-degree view here. It's a nice looking pistol, honestly, if you ask me. You can see some wear on it. The previous owner said he had 50 rounds, so I'm thinking it's probably around 500 actually. Otherwise the wear looks good on the inside now, and I'll show you that later. I'll tell you, the biggest the reason why I wanted to try this out, the biggest reason why I've seen this and wanted to do it is you can come up right up in there. You've got sort of a beaver tail in here, and look how low that bore axis is. I mean, you're right up there on the slide. And let me compare that to, this is a Gen 319, so it's very Glock-esque in that you can get really high, but you can see that even appears taller, or it's just as tall. I mean, I'd have to get at the calipers to tell the difference, but I'm telling you, it feels like it's a smaller slide. It's just very low bore axis, and I know Glock, came up with that term to sell pistols, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing flips, being that is a full-size 9mm polymer gun, especially if you were able to get some weight out here. But the trigger pull itself, I'll go ahead and show you that again one more time. Empty chamber, and it does have a chamber loaded indicator here, so you can just peer down in there. I don't like that. I would much rather have the feel over here, like on Glocks you can feel the extractor, whether or not the extractor's there. I mean, I don't mind this, but I wish it also had the feel out here, and that extractor is a little recessed, so I'm sure with the round in there you would feel a little different, but that's really supposed to be your only indicator. Trigger pull, so let's see if I can do this. Okay, and then right there. Now that's one of the things about this pistol, okay? So as soon as I put this on there, I'm getting tension, right? It almost feels like that's the wall already, and then I have to keep coming back before it releases. There's not really a wall back here that lets you know it's about to. I mean, I guess it's kind of stacking tension, so that could be better. You kind of don't know when it's going to go off, because it feels, I guess it's not really stacking, it's just there's continuous pressure from here to back here. So if you get good with that, maybe that'll make a better, smoother thing. I can liken it to the Glock 19, where the Glock 19 has a very light take up, and then you're on the wall. Alright, that's a Glock trigger. It's like, this has a pretty consistent pressure from the beginning, like right there, and that obviously the safety blade works, but there's no free take up like you get in a Glock. You're pretty much already applying pressure, which again might actually make his trigger better because you're applying a consistent pressure all the way through. Another thing I check for on guns, magazine falls free, no problem. And the mag release is actually really easy to get to. It doesn't look like it's ambidextrous, but they actually have cut out around it, which I think is a nice feature. One of the things I hate about Gen 3 Glocks is how spongy their mag releases are. That's why I really prefer the Gen 4 Glocks. It's just how spongy a Gen 3 one is. This one is nice and crisp. You know exactly when it lets go. So that's very nice. Concerns with this gun that I've already picked up is it requires very little pressure. Like, first off, if you push down on this, that's solid, right? This is solid. It's not moving anywhere. However, it doesn't take much. I mean, like, I'm just barely. I'll take 2 fingers. I'm trying to figure out at what point am I going to get like an out of battery kind of thing here. You can see it's already dropping the barrel, and I'm barely applying pressure. So I'm afraid of, like, when it's cycling, if I'm already back on the trigger here. So that's a concern. That's something that's going to kind of come up in the shooting, I guess. Now, that said, I'm no expert shooter. I'm probably not going to be on the trigger that soon, but it's a concern. Magwell is nice and easy to hit, just like a Glock magwell. Well, it's got some sharp edges, you could bevel it. But dude, that bore axis, like one of the things I really like about this so far is I'm just sticking my finger straight out and very slightly cocking it down to get to that trigger. On Glocks, if I'm up here in this, I have to really bring my finger down. Like I don't know how to. It's hard for me to show. Like if I'm up on the Glock, I have to really bring my finger down. But on this, if I'm up on this gun, I don't really have to bring my finger down as much to get down to the trigger. In fact, like when I'm indexing, it feels like I have to go up, and then the trigger's right there. On Glock, indexing feels more straight, and then to come down to the trigger, you've got to, you know, bring your finger down. So I don't know if that's going to happen or what that's going to matter. One review I said, sorry about that again. One review I said says it's similar in size to a Glock 19. I can't confirm that. I mean, I guess if you match up slide to slide, you're looking at, that's very similar. The base is obviously a lot, good God, sorry about that. The base is obviously a lot longer, so that's matched up. I mean, I don't know. Setting them down like that, you get that much room. Setting them on top of each other, I don't see this size being the same as this size. It looks like it's about, you know, sure there's a Glock 19, but it's probably much more comparable with the 17, which is not a bad thing. I just thought that was interesting that someone would compare it to a Glock 19 when it's clearly more of a size of a 17. So with the mag, empty mag inserted, and no round in the chamber, this thing comes in at 24.85 ounces. So if I take the mag out, that's at 21.4. So mag out Glock 19 Gen 3. So 21.05, and I tell you, it feels light. Like it is a very light gun. This feels heavier, and I guess it's because it's more compact. This thing's very light. This feels kind of top heavy. This more balanced everywhere. So that's definitely something I can say is a benefit for this. So we'll keep that in mind as we're shooting. Other than that, nice crisp reset. I actually sort of like the trigger. It's a little heavy, and it's got that, but you know, it's not horrible. We'll see how it comes out. Breaks down the same way as a Glock. The rails, just more full rails here. Everything else about this, it's very similar to a Glock, but much simpler on all levels. Like, look how simple that is, right? That's just a spring loaded something right there. So there's that. The slide stop is a controlled tension spring there, looks like. I wouldn't even know how you get to these pins here. It looks like you have to more fully disassemble it, but that's kind of interesting. Up here looks pretty much the same. This looks like somebody polished that for me. Here's your striker. I don't like the fact that a few coils are on that. Probably not a very good spring, but you know, your plunger, what have you. Now the model I saw did not have a spacer in the spring, so I'll have to look into that. Bore looks good. I didn't see any imperfections. One of the criticisms with these guns is that the machining is just not as good, and so you get more defects in the metal, which causes, you know, accuracy issues. I'm not seeing that in this one. Let's see, feed ramp looks pretty polished. They also have, everything I've read says that, you know, you might have some trouble in the first 250 rounds or so, and then it'll smooth out and stop getting issues. So I'm hoping that if somebody, they've done me a favor, right? I mean, it's, for some people hate used guns. I think if you've got, you know, less than 1,000 on a used gun, then that person's probably just done you a favor for working out any kinks in it and working out any smoothing it out. Because everyone who I've said maybe says you might have a malfunction or two in the first 150 rounds, and then it works flawlessly after that. So that's kind of what I'm hoping on. Magazines are supposed to be 19, 20 bucks. That's what I've read. I have not shopped that. I don't know yet. But what I'll probably do is I'll probably grab, whoa, that was bad. I'll probably grab another 2-3 mags for this thing, and I will shoot it for IDPA for a couple weeks, or at least 1 week. And I'll also take it out and put some 115s, 124s, and 147 grain 9mm down it, see what it prefers. This is definitely a beater gun for me. That's the reason why I bought it. It's for the price. So far I've been very impressed with the value that I've gotten for the price that it's at, especially at an American company. I can send it back to them here. Another thing I want to go into is just real quick before I finish up. It feels really good. I mean, look at that palm swell, right? I mean, the ones, think about other companies that have that sort of grip, and you're looking at like H&Ks, right? I mean, this thing, it does fill up your hand here. I have medium gloves on the small side, and these are really, it really feels good in my hand. I would say if you cut it right there, it would, you know, feel very similar to a 19, because 19s have those like humps right out here, and that's kind of, but that hump is more towards the bottom. So I would say ergonomically this is a much better feel because it's more up here and it's a better palm swell. So the grip, one of the things that intrigued me about this gun, the grip, I can say I'm very happy with. I think that the grip, it feels great to hold. So we'll take it out to the range, we'll shoot it. We'll see if it has any malfunctions. We will see if it's worth the 250 bucks that I paid for it. Well, if you discount, say, $15 in ammo, we'll see if it's worth the say $235 I paid for it. Again, showing it next to a Glock 19. I think the Glock 19 is pretty much smaller, but yeah. Hopefully this will turn out to be a nice little shooter. And in the future I might trade it away or see what happens with it, but I wanted to take a gamble on it, and you guys get to see how it turns out. Thanks a lot, YouTube. Give me a subscribe, like. It really helps me out when you do that, so I appreciate it, and thanks a lot.